Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing you another action figure review. Today, we're going to be doing things a little bit different. Today I'm going to be reviewing all three of my newest McFarlane DC Multiverse figures at the same time. Normally I review my figures one by one, but I'm getting ready to go on a week-long vacation, so I simply do not have the time before I go. In this video, we're going to be looking at Red Robin, Hush, and Ghostmaker. All three of them are Batman-related characters, and that really excites me. I ordered my figures from CMD store. They were in stock, they shipped fast, they were a little bit delayed because of the holiday, but here they are today. So this is our first figure of Red Robin, but our second figure of Tim Drake. They made one for the Gotham Knights video game. This is McFarlane's first Hush figure. New Batman Rogue in figure form by McFarlane, and he's in his regular standard look. And then Ghostmaker, he's a Batman ally in the Rebirth comics. So let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see at the top, 22 moving parts, McFarlane Toys, ages 12 plus, DC Multiverse Red Robin. Here he is in the package. He's got Tim Drake's signature staff, a collector's card, and a display stand. He has these wings, which I'm assuming are going to be removable. I was really excited when I heard they're making a Red Robin figure, but I really wish he was in his Rebirth costume. Rumor is there's an upcoming gold label variant, and I really hope that's his Rebirth costume. I'm happy to have this figure, but it's a costume that's a little bit dated. He doesn't wear it anymore, and I want to put together the entire Bat family in Rebirth form. One side of the package says Red Robin from DC's New 52. The other side, Red Robin. At the bottom, got a bunch of credits, and there is a barcode, in case that helps anybody. And on the back side, here's Red Robin posed up. The wings look fantastic. And then we have Hush. Thomas Elliot, he's from the Hush storyline. 22 moving parts, McFarlane Toys, 12 plus, DC Multiverse Hush. Here he's in the package. Look at that, he comes with 2 knives. Hush traditionally has 2 pistols, but Warner Brothers has a no gun mandate. Any officially licensed DC figures are not allowed to come with guns. That's exactly what McFarlane's weapon pack is for. It comes with pistols you could definitely use for Hush, but in the meantime, I've got some of my own. One side of the pack, Hush, from the Batman Hush storyline. Other side simply says Hush. The bottom, credits, his barcode, and the back, Hush posed up, looking pretty cool. And then of course we have Ghostmaker. He has never had an action figure release before. Pretty cool. He's a fairly new character to the Batman lore. 22 moving parts, McFarlane Toys, 12, DC Multiverse Ghostmaker. Here he's in the package. 2 swords, display stand, collector's card. The backside, Ghostmaker from DC Future State. Ghostmaker. Here's his barcode. Although it says Future State, he looks pretty much the same in the Rebirth comics. Here's the back of his package. Now, like I said before, there is an upcoming gold label variant of Red Robin, although we don't know exactly what it's going to look like. And then there is a platinum, unpainted, artist-proof variant of both Hush and Ghostmaker. Definitely looking for those. If anybody gets one and has no interest in them, drop me a line. You could really help me out. Here's the back of all 3 of their packages. I do kind of miss the checklist, but the figures look very nice on the back, the way they do it nowadays. Of course, these being Batman-related characters, I got 2 of each of these figures. One to open and enjoy, and one to keep unopened in my complete, unopened, Batman-related action figure collection. In this video, we're going to take a look at each of the figures individually. We'll check out their accessories, height, and articulation. We'll compare them with some other relevant action figures. And then we'll check out these figures next to a bunch of action figures from different various companies, so you can see how they fit in both scale and style-wise. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and with no further ado, let's get them open. Alright, now that we got these figures out of the package, here they are with all their accessories laid out. All 3 of them comes with a display stand and a collector's card. Red Robin has a staff, Hush has 2 knives, and I'll be complaining about that the entire video. Ghostmaker has 2 swords. Now I'd say my anticipation of these figures and my action figure collecting wants are very unique, different than other people. My most anticipated figure here would be Ghostmaker, because he's a character that has never been made before, so he's a new character to add to my Batman world. Then it'd be Hush. I do have some other Hush figures, but this is probably going to be the best one. And then Red Robin. When I first heard they're making a Red Robin figure, I just thought immediately and assumed it was going to be the Rebirth Red Robin. They made some other Rebirth figures, and it only made sense to me. But when they revealed him, it was a New 52 Red Robin. I mean, this figure, it looks great, but I really don't need to team build New 52 members at this point. I would love some classic members, and I would love some Rebirth members. There is a variant of him, so maybe I can add him to my Rebirth team. But those are just my initial thoughts going into this. Now, a couple things that really surprised me off the get-go. I definitely had a what the fuck moment when I realized Red Robin's wings were permanently attached. And they look even worsely attached than the Batman Beyond figure. He had a giant hole in his back. Looks like Red Robin here has a backpack and is going to have 2 holes if you take these off. Also, Hush. I lifted up his skirt. He is not fully sculpted. It looks like the bottom part of his torso is... yeah, it's kind of weird. CMD Store also had the Hush 2-pack. It was not in stock when I placed the order for these figures, but it came in stock a couple days later. I should have that thing soon, so I'll be checking that out when I get back from vacation. Before we dig in deep to each figure, let's just take a look at each one. Red Robin. Tim Drake. Hair looks good. Face looks good. Kind of stern. He doesn't look as young, although Tim Drake is getting older. The head damn sure makes me think of Nightwing. That is exactly what Nightwing's mask looks like. Now the costume, I was complaining earlier, but it's not a bad costume in itself. It kind of looks like the costume he had before this, just without the mask. Like I said, not a bad looking costume, not a bad looking figure, just not the Red Robin that I wanted. You can see the little Red Robin logo on the side there, only on one side. He's got sort of harness on him, utility belt. Now, a couple complaints about him. Obviously, the wings. That does suck. Looks like even if you were to pull this thing off, it's going to look horrible back there. They are articulated. They look pretty good. Elbow a little bit loose. Not bad. It'll still stay where I want it to. He seems to pop apart fairly easily. That kind of sucks. And then the reds here, they don't really fully match. A little bit darker here than above here. And even here and here are a little bit different. Maybe I made it a little bit too nitpicky, but just some things I noticed off the get-go. He's also a little bit more difficult to stand than the other ones, and part of that is probably because of his wings. Now, like I said, puff off's kind of easy. Let me know if you guys have the same problem with yours. Then we have Hush. Face, kind of angry. Gums almost look like they're being pulled open. The mummified bandage type head there. His eyes, completely white. He does look good. Sculpting detail is nice. Trench coat, sculpted inside of the collar. He's got that jade necklace of his mother's. Double jointed elbows. Double jointed knees. Kind of pulled this thing up. Not a finished torso. There's some sort of arrow up there. I do wish the trench coat was open so you could open it up. Maybe you could sort of snap it shut. That'd be kind of nice to have 2 options there. Or to have even done something with a 2-pack like that. Then we've got Ghostmaker. Very unique look. You know why they call him the Ghostmaker. He's going to turn you into a ghost when he kills you. Ninja outfit. Big bunchy pants. Single jointed knees here. Double jointed elbows. Cape. Nice and textured. Pretty excited to add him to my Bat family. So let's go ahead and start off digging deep into Red Robin. So here's Red Robin. I went ahead and heated up the top part of the figure and shoved it back onto that ball joint. Seems he's staying a lot better now. Earlier when I put him back together, maybe it just didn't get in there all the way. I don't know. So this is Tim Drake. He was Batman's 3rd Robin. He is now Red Robin and has been for quite some time. This is, I don't know, his 5th or 6th costume. He's had a bunch of them, and I'll show all of them to you in this video. He's from the New 52, and I really do wish he was from the Rebirth, but I'll stop beating that dead horse with a stick. Where I took a look at earlier, this will be pretty quick. Head looks good. Mask looks good. Hair looks good. Really nice head sculpt. Suit looks pretty good. Red Robin logo, etc. Double jointed knees. Double jointed elbows. He's got these wings, and they do move when he's gliding or flying. You know, he is Robin. Kind of makes sense. Figure looks good, but this crap sucks. It should just attach somehow through the middle. Man, I don't even know if you can pop that thing off. I like him, but there are definitely some things preventing me from loving him. And then, just a closer look at his face and head sculpt. Really screams Nightwing to me, with his hair sort of blowing in the wind. He's got another Red Robin logo on his chest. It's not painted, but that's actually accurate. This guy's costume, the McFarlane figure, is very accurate to the source material. All the details look right to me, and I did check. Now let's take a look at his accessories, and let's start off with the boring stuff. He has a display stand, typical McFarlane stand, black perfect circle, says DC at the bottom, one peg for the peg holes on his feet, very thin, very basic. Now let's look at his collector's card. As you can see, it's an image of the Red Robin figure. Red Robin from DC's New 52. On the back, there is a description. If you want to read that, go ahead and pause now. Now let's look at his staff. Pretty good size. It's silver. It has all these notches in it. Tim Drake has always used a staff ever since he was Robin. It's one of his signature sort of weapons. Here's Red Robin holding his staff. He can hold it with either one hand or with two. The wings can be very useful if standing him in certain poses. Now let's check out his wings. The sculpt, it's plain, but that's more or less how it was. I mean, it simulates feathers. It kind of serves as a cape from the front, and from the back it should allow him to glide. They are articulated, they can spread out. They look very nice like this. You can see him sort of gliding through the sky. Now, disappointed that they are not removable. I'm going to go ahead and heat him up and try to remove this. I kind of don't want to, but I'm sure a lot of you want to know what that looks like, and frankly, so do I. And you know what? That actually worked out really well. I was a little concerned. I thought the black layer would come off, then the red layer would come off, but it's all one solid sort of piece. I was all but able to fix his elbow while he was in the hot water. I can see the problem, a little bit spread out, is able to sort of just squeeze it shut, run cold water on it. Here's how the back looks without the wings. It is not pretty, that's for sure, but it does make him look pretty nice from the front. Then you've got the actual wings. Like I said, they are separate pieces, but it's all together. Got a little peg here, so when I heat the figure back up, these should pop right in pretty easily. I was a little concerned it might warp something, but no, just fine. And now, as I heat up some more water, put the wings back on, I'll go ahead and pop off his head and try it onto a Nightwing figure. Here's the Red Robin head on the Rebirth Nightwing. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. I can see Nightwing on a rooftop, hair blowing in the wind, his two batons out, ready for action. And here it is on the Gotham Knights Nightwing body. Also think it looks fantastic on this figure. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at the figure, his accessories, and some other figures that look good with the head on them, now let's check out his height. From bottom to top, he's standing at about 6.8 inches tall, which can translate to about 17 centimeters. And that's good, because Red Robin is a little bit younger and shorter than Batman. Now let's check out his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, it can rotate from side to side. You can look up about that far, down about that far. Can tilt his head from one side to the other, giving him a good amount of personality. Shoulders on a ball joint, goes out about 90 degrees, up, down, around, all that good stuff. It's got a butterfly joint between his shoulder and chest area, increase the range of motion there. Bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows that go in this far. His wrist can rotate, and it's going to be hinged as well. Ball joint his torso, rotate around, forward and back. Stays in a lot better now. Ball joint his waist, rotate around, forward and back, giving him very good range of motion in his torso area. His legs, complete as a splits. Not a ball joint, but a similar type concept. Rotation is pretty much non-existent. Legs go forward about that far. Back, not too much. Of course, his wings are articulated. Double joint knees. Then his ankle, forward and back, rotate, tilt, rock, and toe articulation. Here's Red Robin, gliding through the skies of Gotham City, holding a batarang, ready for action. Here's Red Robin in the Batcave, talking to Batman and the other Robins. New 52 style. Now let's check him out, next to some other Red Robin and Tim Drake figures. Here he is, next to the DC Director DC Collectibles, New 52 Teen Titans Red Robin. Their suits look very similar, just the shade of red's a little bit different. They both have the wings, but where DC Direct 1 is, they made theirs completely removable, and the figure doesn't look too bad without them. Here's a closer look at their heads. McFarlane on the left, DC Direct on the right. Which head do you prefer? Drop me a line in the comments below. Personally, when looking at the McFarlane head, it just looks older. It looks like Nightwing. The one at the right looks a lot younger, more appropriate for Tim Drake. And here, next to the Mattel DC Multiverse Red Robin, this is Red Robin in his current Rebirth costume. This is the one I was hoping McFarlane would make. The traditional Robin Tim Drake, or this Rebirth Red Robin, those are the two Tim Drake figures that I'm interested in. Then, next to a Mattel DC Universe Classics Red Robin, this is Tim Drake, Red Robin, in its previous suit, before the one with the wings on it. And now, next to a DC Direct Red Robin in that same suit, but this one's not Tim Drake. This one is Dick Grayson from the storyline Kingdom Come. This is the first time this Red Robin suit was ever shown. And here, with a custom Red Robin I've had for many years, here are all of my Red Robin figures in order by costume. Now on the leak list, there is a gold label variant of the McFarland Red Robin. The description I read said something like red suit, and that didn't exactly give me the confidence that it was going to be the Rebirth Red Robin. It could be this version, it could be this version, it could be something completely different. Fingers are crossed, it's the Rebirth version that I really want for McFarlane. I mentioned Tim Drake having at least 5 different suits that I could think of. Let's check out the progression of his costumes. Here's more or less the traditional Robin costume that Tim Drake wore. It was the first Robin of a new costume and sort of modernized things. Although this figure has a lot of inaccuracies, it's probably my favorite figure of Tim Drake in that costume. The earlier Mattel release was much more accurate, but the articulation is so much better in the DC Universe Classics version. Then, starting with the events of 1 year later, you start wearing this costume. It's pretty much the exact same costume, but the green parts are replaced with red. And I believe around the events of Batman R.I.P., you start wearing this costume. And in the New 52, he wore this costume. Then, in the Rebirth, this is his current costume. He's had many different looks over the years. This is pretty similar to his original Robin costume, and I appreciate that. Now let's check him out. Next to some other Tim Drake action figures from different various companies. Here he is, with the other McFarlane Tim Drake. This is Robin from Gotham Knights. Then, next to all of my DC Direct and DC Collectibles Tim Drake Robin figures, I'm missing the Teen Titans Tim Drake in his Robin costume. Articulation's poor, but the figure looks pretty good. And here, next to a Yamato Tim Drake. Then, with all my Mattel Tim Drake figures, here are all of my 6 and 7 inch Tim Drake figures. The only one I can think of that I'm missing is that DC Direct Teen Titans Tim Drake. If you see any else that I'm missing, let me know, drop me a line. And finally, here's this Red Robin next to a couple of different Stephanie Brown spoiler figures. Stephanie Brown was Tim Drake's girlfriend in the comics for almost 30 years. The one on the left is the original version, a custom I made a while ago, and the one on the right is a Mattel DC Multiverse Rebirth Stephanie Brown. Little short next to this Tim Drake, but you can make it work. Before we move on to Hush, I wanted to check him out with some other McFarlane New 52 figures. Here he is, with the other Bat Family figures that are specifically labeled the New 52, the Red Hood versus Nightwing 2-pack. And while this Batman and Damian Wayne Robin are technically from the Rebirth era, They're probably about the best ones you can fit in with the new 52. Batman at least has the all-gray suit, no trunks, but he's missing a bunch of those crazy lines. And Damian Wayne pretty much looks exactly the same, so it works out okay for a new 52 Bat family. These are the other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures that are specifically from the new 52. Others could potentially be fudged into that era. We have the Swamp Thing variant with the antlers, and then Etrigan from Demon Knights. Now let's take a look at Hush. His real name is Thomas Elliot. He was a childhood friend of Bruce Wayne. He always wanted his parents to die so he could have their inheritance. He made his first appearance in a Batman comic storyline called Batman Hush. That's where this figure is based from. Since then, he's been a great addition to Batman's Rogues Gallery. So let's take a look. His face, he's got these bandages all over it. You weren't supposed to know his true identity in Batman Hush. It was a big mystery the whole time. A lot of twists and turns. He's got this trench coat. It's going to interfere with a lot of his articulation. Probably has 2 ball joints here, and you probably really can't use either one very well. His face has sort of an angry expression, although I believe the one of the 2-pack has an angrier expression. He has this jade pendant around his neck. His mother gave that to him. It's a little weird how sentimental he is about it. He got really mad when Harley Quinn tried to steal it, which is odd considering he more or less tried to kill his parents. I could see somebody making a custom Commissioner Gordon with this body, this trench coat. I do wish a trench coat was open and you could utilize articulation and see his suit a little more. Make it have the option to snap it shut or open it up. At the beginning of the video, I did lift up his trench coat and showed how his torso is not fully sculpted underneath. I'm not going to do it again as it's starting to show some stress marks in here, so if you want to see that, go back to the beginning. Double jointed elbows, double jointed knees, which surprises me. Good looking figure. Looks like it's probably going to be the best Hush figure out there, and I have them all. And a closer look at his face and head sculpt. Intricate sculpting with the bandages. They did a good job with that. Now let's take a look at his accessories. Let's start with the boring stuff. We already looked at Red Robin's display stand. Hush comes with the exact same one. Then we have his collector's card. You can see it's an image of the figure Hush. Trench coat looks a little darker than the figure in front of me. Hush from Batman Hush. On the back side there is a description. If you want to read that, go ahead and pause now. Now let's look at his knives. And yes, I'm super annoyed that he has knives and not guns. Hush traditionally has 2 pistols, but it's not McFarlane's fault. So the knife here, blade silver, handle, a little bit of sculpting detail there. Now, the knives do appear to be exactly the same. Nothing too special there. As most of the McFarlane accessories are, they're a little bit rubbery or bendable. Here's Hush holding his knives. Now what Hush really needs are some guns. McFarlane has an upcoming accessory weapon pack. You can get it at the McFarlane toy store, and it's supposed to come out in August. That'll help you out with some guns, but in the meantime, I want some guns now. I took the 2 pistols from the unmasked Thomas Wayne Flashpoint Batman. They should work good with Hush. These are black, and Hush typically has some silver pistols. Red Hood has some silver pistols, but they have bat symbols on either side, so they're not going to work for Hush. Here's Hush holding the 2 pistols. They fit in his hand great. The trigger finger goes into the trigger. Fits like a glove. And another shot of Hush holding these pistols. And if you want some silver pistols, there are options out there too. I took these from some Mezco Reservoir Dogs figures. Don't fit quite as good as McFarlane pistols, but they work. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at the figure, his accessories, and some other accessories you can use to enhance this guy, now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, standing at about 7.0 inches tall, which can translate to about 18 centimeters. Now let's check out his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, it can rotate from side to side. Up about that far, down about that far, pretty nice. Can tilt his head from one side to the other, giving him a good amount of personality. Shoulders, ball joint, goes up about 90 degrees, up, down, around, all that good stuff. He doesn't have that butterfly joint McFarlane normally has. Bicep cut, double jointed elbows. His wrist can rotate, and it's going to be hinged as well. Now, he does have articulation in his waist, but most of it is not going to be usable with his trench coat. His waist rotate around, go forward and back a little bit. I'd assume he has some in his torso here, but I can't really tell, and it's really not going to help at all. Rotation is more or less non-existent here. Double jointed knees, then his ankle, forward and back, tilt, rotate, tilt, and toe articulation. Now switch to an alleyway in the slums of Gotham City. You can see Hush taking a knife to his victim. He's been cutting people's faces off. They nicknamed him the Identity Thief. Here's Batman looking down the alleyway toward Hush's victim. Batman inspects the body further, looking for any clues that'll help him find the killer. Thomas Elliot is looking at himself in the mirror. His face is wrapped in bandages. He's been cutting off faces of people all over Gotham City, trying to put together a special face for himself. The face of his childhood friend. The face of Bruce Wayne. Thomas Elliot has to put some makeup on to watch out for those scars. The next day, in Bruce Wayne's office at Wayne Enterprises, his secretary says, "Oh, you're back so soon, Mr. Wayne?" Bruce Wayne is confused as he just got to the office. She tells him that he had just left, and he runs downstairs, meets up with somebody, grabs his shoulder, and he's in shock as he's looking at himself. Thomas Elliot quickly takes advantage of Bruce Wayne's shock and escapes. Later, Batman and Hush start to fight on a Gotham rooftop. Batman doesn't know who Hush is. As Thomas Elliot wants to ruin Bruce Wayne's name, he takes off his bandages and reveals that he is in fact Bruce Wayne. Of course, he doesn't know that Batman is Bruce Wayne, so his plan is not going to work. Batman removes his mask and totally shocks Thomas Elliot, as he had no idea Bruce Wayne was Batman. Batman takes advantage of this and takes down Thomas Elliot. Now let's check him out next to some other Hush figures, and I'm looking forward to getting the Batman vs. Hush 2-pack. It should be here in a couple days. When I get back in town, I'll get that review up. Here he is, next to my DC Direct and DC Collectibles Hush figures. Then, next to a Mafex Hush figure. Here are all of my 6 and 7-inch Hush action figures together. Who would have thought we'd have 4 of them with a 5th one coming? They've also made a couple of Jason Todd as Hush figures. On the left, DC Direct. On the right, Mafex. I was curious if I could possibly recreate my own McFarland version. I'm going to take the unmasked Jason Todd head with the domino mask from Mattel's DC Multiverse and see how it looks on this Hush body. I went and swapped out the heads, and even though it's a slightly smaller scale, I think it looks pretty good on this guy. It might be a tiny bit too small. The only real problem is the neck, but I guess if he's wrapped in bandages, he could have just taken them off his face and not off his neck. I could also totally see McFarlane making the Jason Todd variant of this guy. They seem to really like making Jason Todd figures, and re-releasing a figure with a different head is right up their alley. Now let's take a look at Ghostmaker. His real name is Minhkhoa Khan. He also sometimes goes by Anton. He traveled around the world and was trained by a lot of the same people that trained Bruce Wayne and made him the man he is today. Ghostmaker is a vigilante. He fights crime and considers it an art, but he's willing to kill people and take it all the way. In the modern day and age, he's a recent member of the Bat family and works under Batman in the Rebirth comics now. He comes with a display stand, 2 swords, and a collector's card. But before I take a look at those, let's quickly take a look at him. This figure is dubbed Future State, but he looks pretty much the same in Rebirth. He's got sort of a helmet thing on. You can see sort of the slits representing eyes. Armor with a logo, shoulder pads. Texturing on his suit is decent in the different areas. His white has a much different texturing than the armor on top. He's got the really big, puffy sort of ninja pants on, and the articulation looks like it's going to suck, but I'm not sure how else they could handle that. Visually, it looks pretty decent. Cape looks nice. He's got a couple sheaths for his katanas. Overall, really pleased to add a brand new member of the Bat family in action figure form, never released by any company, and a closer look at his face, helmet, or head sculpt. Now let's take a look at his accessories. He's got the same display stand the other figures came with. Here's his collector's card. It's an image of Ghostmaker, posed up, got the city in the background. Ghostmaker from DC's Future State. On the back side, there is a description. If you want to read that, go ahead and pause now. Now let's look at his katanas. Upon first glance, I thought there were two of the exact same weapons, but one is considerably shorter than the other. Beyond that, they're pretty much the same. A little bit of sculpt and detail on the handle. Blade looks pretty good, and as usual, it's very bendable. Here he is, holding one of his katanas. He can hold it with either one hand or with two, and here's Ghostmaker holding both of his katanas, and then holstering the two katanas in his sheaths. And now that we've taken a pretty good look at the figure and his accessories, now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, standing about 7.2 inches tall, which is going to translate to about 18 centimeters. Now let's take a look at his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, it can rotate from side to side. It can look up about that far, down about that much. Pretty nice there. Can't tilt his head from one side to the other. Shoulders. Shoulder pads are soft. They can go above. Go about 90 degrees out. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. He does have a butterfly joint between his shoulder and chest area, increasing the range of motion. Bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows, they go all the way in. His wrist, there's a ball on it, but you can't see it. Rotates around. It's going to be hinged as well. His torso here, it's got a ball joint, hidden pretty nicely with this armor overlay. Rotate around, forward and back a tiny bit. His waist, he's got another ball joint, once again, hidden nicely with this overlay. Rotate around, forward and back, giving him very impressive range of motion considering how bulky and armored he looks. Legs completely does the splits. Not a ball joint, a similar type concept. Rotation is completely non-existent. They go forward about that far, back about that much. Single jointed knees, and I totally get that. They really don't go back very much, and there is a little bit of rotation there. His ankle, it's a new style, not exactly the ball, a little more seamless. Forward and back, rotate, tilt, rock, and toe articulation. Here's Anton and Bruce training in a dojo. They're going around the world, learning different martial arts skills. A closer image of them fighting, and they get noticed by some other people there. Noticed so well that they were invited to the League of Shadows. Here's Ghostmaker and Bruce meeting Ra's al Ghul, Ubu, Talia, and the Sensei. They have this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be trained by the best of the best. Ghostmaker and Batman start training with all the League of Shadows ninjas. Ra's notices that they're using non-lethal combat. He challenges them. They have to use lethal combat to be a member of the League. Bruce Wayne refuses. Ghostmaker has no problem with it. Ra's al Ghul now allows Ghostmaker to lead his troops into battle. Now this is not how it went down in the comics, but it's kind of a cool little interesting idea. Until years later, now Ghostmaker works for Batman. He embraces the no-kill rule. He's a leader of Batman Incorporated. Now let's check him out. Next to some other action figures, starting off with some other Batman Rebirth Bat family members. Here are all the McFarlane figures, specifically labeled Future State. Here's Ghostmaker. Next are several different Batman figures from the comics. Then, with some Batman figures from different various forms of media. Here he is, with some other members of the Bat family. Regular looking, modern Bat family members in the Rebirth era. And here, with some alternate versions of the Bat family. I would say these look the best together, most cohesive scale-wise. Add in the White Knight Azrael and the Gotham Knights Robin as a fill-in for Red Robin, and your Rebirth Bat family is continuing to grow. Hope they make Batwoman, Orphan, Batwing, Spoiler, Huntress, and all the others. Now let's check them out. Next to some of their Ninja action figures. Here he is, next to a couple of DC Direct, Arrow, Dark Archer figures. These guys were actually League of Shadows members in the Arrow TV show. Then, with a couple of NECA, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie foot soldiers. And here, next to a couple of DC Direct, Nightfall, Mask of Tengu Batman figures. And now, next to a couple of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Gen U figures. Here's Ghostmaker, next to a couple of Mafex, Racial Ghoul League of Shadows members. And with a couple of Hasbro, G.I. Joe Classified Red Ninjas. Then, next to a couple of Hasbro, Marvel Legends Ronin figures. And finally, next to a couple of Hasbro, Marvel Legends Red Hand Ninjas. Hoping to track down the black version. Here are all three of these figures in the Gotham City streets. Hush, Red Robin, and Ghostmaker. So that was a look at all three of these figures. Red Robin, Hush, and Ghostmaker. All three Batman-related releases by McFarlane. All three fantastic releases. They all look great, but they all have some minor flaws. Red Robin, for example, the wings not being removable, that does suck, although they can be taken off with pretty good ease. And the shading of red not exactly matching does bother me a little bit. Hush, I wish that his trench coat would open and you could have some alternate different looks with him. That would have been really nice. And then Ghostmaker, not very fond of his knees. So big and bulky and bunchy, barely can move at all. Everything else on that guy is very well articulated, and I don't really see a better way to articulate the knees, but they're frustrating to use. Normally I would go ahead and do some more comparisons now, but by reviewing all three of these figures in one video, I can only imagine how long it's gotten to this point. I think you guys get the idea of where they fit in. If I were to rate these figures, I'm going to give Red Robin and Hush an 8 out of 10, and Ghostmaker a 7.5 out of 10. Really enjoying all three of these figures. From my unique point of view, Ghostmaker is probably my favorite. I'm really happy to have another new Batman-related character for my action figure collection. Never released in plastic before. Looking forward to getting the gold variation of the Red Robin, and then the platinum variations of both Hush and Ghostmaker. Like I said before, if anyone happens to get one and they don't want it, drop me a line. Could save me some trouble. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say with the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys real soon.